Okay, so I need to tell you something that genuinely bothers me. Nobody taught me this in school. Nobody taught it to most of us. And by the time we figure it out, really figure it out, we've already lost years, sometimes decades. And those years, those are the most valuable years, the ones we can never get back. I'm talking about compound interest. And before you click away, because that sounds like something a boring finance professor says, stay with me. Because once this clicks for you, the way you think about money will never be the same. Let's get into it. So here's where I want to start. Imagine someone offers you a choice. Option A, they hand you $1 million right now, cash, done. Option B, they give you a single penny today, but it doubles every day for 30 days. Which do you pick? Most people pick the $1 million. It's right there. It's real. It's $1 million. But here's what actually happens with the penny. Day 1, you have 1 cent. Day 2, 2 cents. Day 10, you have about $5. Embarrassing. Day 15, around $163. Still a terrible deal, right? Day 20, $5,243. Day 25, $167,000. Day 28, $1.3 million. Day 29, $2.6 million. Day 30, $5.3 million. The penny wins by a lot. Now, that's an extreme example with a doubling rate that doesn't exist in the real world. But it illustrates the exact principle that makes compound interest so powerful and so easy to underestimate. Because the growth at the end is so much bigger than the growth at the beginning, our brains don't see it coming. We look at the early days and we think, this is going nowhere, and we give up. Or we wait, or we just don't start. And that waiting, that's the most expensive financial decision most of us will ever make. So let's talk about what compound interest actually is. Because the textbook definition is kind of dry, and I want to make sure this actually makes sense. Simple interest is straightforward. You put in $1,000, you earn 10% a year. Every year you earn $100. After 10 years, you have $2,000. Your original $1,000 plus 10 years of $100 payments. Clean, predictable, boring. Compound interest works differently. You put in $1,000, you earn 10% in year 1. That's $100. But here's the key. In year 2, you don't earn 10% on your original $1,000. You earn 10% on $1,100. So now you earn $110. In year 3, you earn 10% on $1,210. So you earn $121. Every single year, your earnings get bigger because you're earning returns on your returns. It doesn't sound like much at first, but give it time. And time is exactly what makes this so powerful. After 10 years at 10%, your $1,000 has grown to $2,594. Not $2,000 like with simple interest, $2,594. That extra $594 is pure compound growth, interest on your interest. After 20 years, $6,727. After 30 years, $17,449. After 40 years, $45,259. That is $45,000 from a $1,000 investment, without adding another dollar. Just time doing its thing. And here's where it gets wild. Look at the shape of that growth. The first 10 years, you went from $1,000 to $2,594, a gain of $1,594. The second 10 years, from $2,594 to $6,727, a gain of $4,133. The third 10 years, from $6,727 to $17,449, a gain of $10,722. The fourth 10 years, from $17,449 to $45,259, a gain of $27,810. Same 10 years each time, same 10% rate, but the dollar gains more than double every decade, because the base is getting bigger. The snowball is getting bigger, and a bigger snowball picks up more snow with every single roll. That's not a trick, that's math, and it works in your favor, as long as you let time do its job. Now let's talk about real numbers, because I think the penny example and the abstract math are useful, but what you really want to know is, what does this mean for me? What does this mean for my actual life? Let's use $10,000, a real amount, something you might actually be able to save up. And let's use a 10% annual return, which is roughly the historical average annual return of the S&P 500 over the last 70 years. $10,000 invested today at 10% per year. No additional contributions, just that one lump sum left alone. In 10 years, $25,937. In 20 years, $67,275. In 30 years, $174,494. In 40 years, $452,593. In 50 years, $1,173,908. Over $1 million from $10,000 without adding a single dollar more. Just time and compound growth doing their thing. And here's the kicker. Most of that growth happens in the last stretch. After 40 years, you have $452,000. In just the final 10 years, you add another $720,000. The last decade alone adds more than the first 4 decades combined. This is why starting early is everything. Not important, everything. I want to show you this with 2 people. Let's call them Maya and Jordan. Same age, same starting point, they're both 25. Maya starts investing $5,000 a year at 25. She does it for 10 years, just 10, and then stops. Never invests another dollar. Total invested, $50,000. Then she just waits. Jordan waits. He tells himself he'll start when he's more settled, when he has more money, when things calm down. He starts at 35 and then invests $5,000 every single year until he's 65. That's 30 years of investing. Total invested, $150,000. 3 times as much as Maya. They both turn 65. Who has more money? Maya, the one who stopped investing at 35, has around $602,000. Jordan, the one who invested 3 times as much money, has around $540,000. Maya wins by $60,000. Even though she stopped investing 30 years earlier and put in a third of the money. Why? Because Maya had a 10-year head start. And those 10 early years, the years where the snowball starts rolling, are irreplaceable. You cannot buy them back. You cannot make up for them with more contributions later. The only way to get them is to start early. And if that doesn't make you want to open a brokerage account right now, I don't know what will. Let's talk about Warren Buffett for a second, because he is literally the most famous example of compound interest in human history, and most people don't realize it. Buffett has a net worth of around $150 billion. People look at that number and think he must be the greatest stock picker who ever lived. And sure, he's brilliant. But here's the thing most people don't know. More than 99% of Warren Buffett's wealth came after he turned 56 years old. Let that sink in. He's been investing since he was 11. He was worth $1 million by 30. But essentially all of his wealth, everything that makes him one of the richest humans who ever lived, accumulated after he turned 56. Not because he got smarter after 56, not because he started picking better stocks, but because the snowball had been rolling for 45 years. And when a snowball that size rolls for 45 years, the last stretch is where the avalanche happens. Buffett himself described it perfectly. He said, and I love this, the trick is to have a very long hill, which means either starting very young or living to be very old. You might not live to be 100, but you can start young. And starting young is entirely in your control. Okay, so we know compound interest is powerful. We know time is the key ingredient. But there are a few other things that determine how fast your snowball grows. And I want to cover them because getting these right can dramatically change your outcome. Factor 1, the rate of return. This is huge. The difference between a 7% return and a 10% return sounds small. 3 percentage points. But over decades, the difference is staggering. $10,000 at 7% for 40 years, $149,745. $10,000 at 10% for 40 years, $452,593. Same time, same starting amount, but 3 extra percentage points gives you 3 times more money. This is why high investment fees are so dangerous. A fund that charges 1.5% in annual fees sounds like nothing. But over 30 years, that 1.5% fee can quietly eat 30 to 40% of your total potential returns. Not 1.5% of your returns, 30 to 40%. This is why low-cost index funds matter so much. A fund with a 0.03% expense ratio versus a fund with a 1.5% expense ratio, the returns look similar on a statement in year 1. The difference 30 years later can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Factor 2. How often interest compounds. Most investments compound daily or monthly, not just annually. And it matters, though less dramatically than the rate or the time horizon. More frequent compounding means your interest starts earning interest faster. Daily compounding will give you slightly more than annual compounding at the same rate. It's a smaller factor than rate and time, but worth knowing. Factor 3. Consistent contributions. The examples I've been using, single lump sum, no additional contributions, illustrate the pure math of compounding. But in real life, the most powerful version of this is regular contributions over time. A little every month, automatically invested. Let's run the numbers. Say you're 25. You invest $300 a month, about $10 a day, into an S&P 500 index fund earning 10% annually. You do this until you're 65, 40 years. Total invested, $144,000. Your account value at 65, approximately $1.9 million. Nearly $2 million from $10 a day. That's less than most people spend on coffee and lunch. And if you start at 35 instead, same $300 a month, same 10%, 30 years instead of 40. Total invested, $108,000. Account value at 65, approximately $678,000. The person who started 10 years earlier invested $36,000 more and ended up with $1.2 million more. The math is relentless, and it doesn't care about your feelings or your excuses or the fact that you really wanted those new AirPods. It just compounds. Now I want to talk about the flip side, because compound interest doesn't just work for you. It can work against you, and when it works against you, it is brutal. Think about credit card debt. The average credit card charges around 20 to 24% interest annually, and that interest compounds. Every month you carry a balance, interest is added, and next month you're paying interest on that interest. $5,000 in credit card debt at 22% interest. You pay the minimum every month, say $100. How long to pay it off? Over 30 years. And you'll pay more than $17,000 in interest alone, on a $5,000 balance. Compound interest building your retirement account is a miracle. Compound interest running on your credit card debt is a trap. Same math, completely different outcomes depending on which side of it you're on. This is why the first wealth move for almost anyone carrying high-interest debt is to eliminate it before investing. Because paying off 22% interest debt is a guaranteed 22% return. That beats the stock market's historical average by more than double. Okay, let's bring all of this together into something you can actually do. Because information without action is just trivia. Wealth move 1. Start today. Not this month, not when you have more money. Today. Even if it's $50, even if it's $25. The amount matters less than the date. Every single day you delay, you are permanently giving up compounding time that you cannot buy back. Open a brokerage account. Set up automatic contributions. Put it on autopilot so you don't have to think about it. Wealth move 2. Invest in low-cost index funds and leave them alone. The S&P 500 has returned roughly 10% annually on average over the last 70 years. You don't need to pick stocks. You don't need a fancy advisor. You need a low-cost index fund, something like a total market ETF with a 0.03% expense ratio, and you need to stop checking it every day. Compound interest requires patience. The investors who panic sell every time the market dips are the ones who interrupt the compounding. They reset their snowball, and then they wonder why they never seem to get ahead. Wealth move 3. Never let compound interest work against you. Pay off high-interest debt aggressively. Never carry a credit card balance if you can avoid it. Avoid car loans with high rates. Understand that every dollar of debt you carry is a dollar where compound interest is working against you instead of for you. The goal is to get to a place where all your compound interest is working in your direction. Building your wealth, not someone else's. Wealth move 4. Automate and ignore. Set up automatic monthly investments into your index fund. Then stop watching. Seriously, the people who check their portfolios every day are the most likely to make emotional decisions that interrupt compounding. The people who set it and forget it, checking in once a year, rebalancing gently, staying the course, are the ones who end up with the big snowballs. Wealth move 5. If you have access to a 401k with an employer match, contribute enough to get the full match. Always. Every time. An employer match is an instant 50 to 100% return on your investment on day one. Nothing in finance gives you a guaranteed return like that. It's free money that then compounds for decades. If you're not taking the full match, you are leaving compounding dollars on the table every single paycheck. Now let me close with the thing that gets me every time I think about this. Compound interest is completely democratic. It doesn't care where you grew up, what school you went to, who your parents are, or how much money you started with. It works the same way for everyone. The only variable you control, the only one that matters above everything else, is when you start. A 22-year-old who invests $100 a month in a boring index fund and never thinks about it again will, with near certainty, be a millionaire by retirement. That's not a get-rich-quick scheme. That's not luck. That's math working in your favor for decades. But here's the thing. Most 22-year-olds don't do it. Because it feels like nothing. $100 a month? That's not going to make me rich. And so they wait. They'll start when they have more, when they feel ready, when life settles down. And life never settles down. And the hill gets shorter. And the snowball never gets the head start it needed. Don't be that person. Start with whatever you have. Start today. Let time do the heavy lifting. Because compound interest is the one financial superpower that doesn't require genius or luck or connections or a perfect salary. It just requires starting. And if this kind of straightforward, no-fluff financial education is what you've been looking for, subscribe to Trek for Wealth. We break down the concepts that actually move the needle in a way that actually makes sense. Your trail map for building, growing, and protecting long-term wealth. Trek for Wealth. Keep trekking.